You're watching a Highwire Media podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Political Pulse Show. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So this new development out of Illinois kind of went under the radar, but you possibly could have some counties in the state of Illinois that want to join Indiana. We've heard a lot about Greater Oregon, and I possibly am going to be making a video talking about that if it becomes relevant in the news again. But not a lot of people have talked about this. And this is something that a lot of Republicans want to do in the state of Illinois. If this were to happen, which I'm not saying is likely, but if it were, the electoral map would indeed change significantly. You would be taking electoral votes, depending on how many counties were to join, away from a blue state and putting them into a red state. Not that many of them, but still, it's a shift. This is a recent development because the Indiana House has passed 2 bills in recent weeks. One of them targeted downstate counties, and another one targeted Chicago sports teams. You look at Indiana, they don't have an MLB team, and the White Sox might be thinking about relocating. To the point where Indiana is trying to get them to somehow move there. Doesn't seem very likely to happen. I mean, the White Sox have been in Chicago for a very long time. So it seems like these measures are more for political purposes. Republicans in Indiana are also reaching out to these downstate Illinois counties saying, hey, you guys don't have any power in your state. Your state's controlled by Chicago and a few counties surrounding it, because that's where the population is. But beyond that, you have a lot of land, a lot of counties, and a lot of people who don't really have much of a voice. They're really fed up with the state's leadership. Illinois is a very Democrat state. But not only that, it's a historically corrupt state. Many people don't like the current governor in Illinois. And Democrats hold every statewide office. They have a majority in the House and the Senate. And the House map is gerrymandered to favor the Democrats heavily. You have a lot of people who are just not happy about it. Meanwhile, Indiana is a red state. Republicans hold all the statewide offices. They have a supermajority in the House, supermajority in the state Senate. And when it comes to congressional districts, Indiana has maybe 2 Democrat districts.
Hey beer lovers, this one's for you. If you're tired of the same old brews and want to level up your beer game, let me introduce you to the Original Craft Beer Club, the ultimate way to discover the best craft beers from all over the U.S. Every month, they deliver a curated selection of premium, small batch craft beers right to your doorstep. We're talking hard-to-find, award-winning brews from independent breweries you might never have discovered otherwise. No contracts, no commitment, just incredible beer tailored for true enthusiasts. And the best part? Each shipment comes with tasting notes, food pairings, and the story behind every brewery, so you get a full craft beer experience. Want to try it for yourself? Use the link in the description and check them out today. And now let's get back to the episode.
One of them is trending right significantly. It could flip by the end of the decade, depending on what happens. So you're kind of seeing this play out. One of these bills in Indiana would annex several downstate Illinois counties that want to join Indiana. And now it's been talked about before, way back in the day, with West Virginia. It's also been discussed regarding Greater Oregon, whether counties in eastern Washington and eastern Oregon, which are very red and more culturally aligned with Idaho, could join Idaho to have more political power. Maybe that could give Idaho another electoral vote, which would take an electoral vote or 2 away from Washington or Oregon in the process. The main catch with Illinois is that Illinois itself would have to play along and agree to it. Technically, you could say it could happen. Illinois is under full Democrat control. They're probably not going to want to give up that control. The frustration is real, though. These people don't feel represented by the leadership in Illinois, and they want to be free from the power of Cook County, which is the largest county in the state. If you took Cook County out of Illinois, Donald Trump either would have won the state or it would have been a swing state. It would have been very, very close. And that's the issue. Big population center controls the state, but its interests don't align with the rural areas. These people want out, and they try to join Indiana because culturally it's much more similar. That's why this conversation is happening, and there is talk that Indiana could possibly annex 33 conservative-leaning downstate counties. Of course, this would require the governor of Illinois to allow it, which doesn't seem likely. The article discussing this also talks about the sports franchises. You have the Bears, whose stadium is crumbling, and the White Sox, who might need a new stadium. But relocating from Chicago to Indiana doesn't make much sense. Indianapolis has no MLB team, so a move there could be more likely, but it's still not very probable. The Indiana Senate would still likely have to pass this, and while it would benefit Indiana and its Republicans, even Illinois Republicans might not all be on board with it. Maybe a couple of them would be, but the state at large is controlled by Democrats. Even if Republicans gained more influence, why would Illinois want to give up those counties? So is it likely to happen? No. But just for fun, let's consider what would happen if it did. If it happened, we'd have to look at how many electoral votes could realistically leave Illinois and go to Indiana. How would it impact the electoral map? First of all, Illinois would get bluer. It would become even harder for Republicans to win it. Harder than it already is. But in terms of electoral votes or congressional districts, maybe 3 to 4 would shift. Let's be generous and say 4. So 4 districts leave Illinois and go to Indiana. The map would look a little weird, but let's say Illinois drops to electoral votes, or drops to 15, and Indiana rises to 15. That would make their populations fairly comparable. If that were the case, Indiana would be firmly Republican, and Illinois would remain firmly Democrat. But for the overall electoral map, this would be a major benefit to Republicans. It would make their pathway to victory easier. If Republicans win North Carolina and Georgia, they're already close. If they win Pennsylvania and Michigan, they've got it. Even if they just won Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, they'd get to 269 electoral votes, which means they'd probably win the House. North Carolina will likely remain redder than the other swing states. Arizona and Nevada also seem to be trending right. So this is just an interesting scenario to think about it. If something similar happened in Washington and Oregon, where conservative counties left, Washington might drop to 11 electoral votes and Oregon to 7. Idaho could gain 1 or 2. It's a shift, but not a massive one. In this hypothetical scenario, Republicans would only need to win one of the major swing states like Georgia or Pennsylvania, while Democrats would have to sweep all 4 to win. Again, is this likely? Not necessarily. But would I hypothetically support it? Yeah. From an electoral standpoint, it would be a huge benefit to the Republican Party and a major loss for the Democrats. That said, it's not very feasible. A lot of Republicans in Illinois still take pride in their state. They don't like the leadership, but they hope that one day Illinois could have a reasonable governor. Oregon and Washington are a little different since the far left have a stronghold in Seattle and Portland, but Illinois has actually elected Republican governors before, though they were your typical rhino. You're not going to get a MAGA Republican winning a statewide election in Illinois anytime soon, but you could get someone like Glenn Youngkin type Republican by 2030. Maybe. Illinois has a history of disliking its governors. If a Democrat becomes extremely unpopular, an inoffensive Republican could win. That might help clean up some of the corruption and make the state more livable. People are leaving Illinois in large numbers. We always hear about New York and California, but Illinois is underrated in that regard. A lot of people are moving from Illinois to places like North Carolina, Florida, and Nevada. It's become such a problem that entire counties are willing to leave Illinois and join Indiana. There's support for it on both sides of the border, but it's not something widely talked about. Still, with this bill in the Indiana House and growing frustration in Illinois, people are considering it. Some want to join Indiana, some don't. But ultimately, it's a very far-fetched idea. We're probably more likely to annex Greenland and the Panama Canal, or even a portion of Canada, before states start messing with their borders like this. But if polarization continues, could something like this happen in the next decade? Maybe. Anyways, thanks for watching. Like the video, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another episode. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description below. And of course, I'll see you in the next one. And if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/twledger. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. Take care.